I've just realised I've been chatting for absolutely ages with no sound. That is fantastic, isn't it? I just realised that my cable there was just dangling. Wow. Well, so anyone that was listening up till now will not have heard a word. Thankfully, there's only one person watching this, according to my analytics. So that's quite funny. Quite an amateur mistake there. That's 5 minutes of wasted stream. I'm gonna have to add that in. So I'll just add that into the title. But anyway, in that case, hi everybody again. Hello everybody again. This is going to be my sales report. I'm doing it as a live stream. I've not done the sales report since the 2nd of October, so it's the 13th today. Hence, I thought I would share another one with you. So yeah, here we go. I mean, I did say a lot of stuff. I'm not sure what I said now because it's off the cuff, and I'm not going to be able to remember. But there we go. My first item, I'm going to share my sales report. Like I said, I've got a fair few things that I've sold since then, and I just picked out a few of the ones that I really enjoy. Now, the first item is a Jack specific kids wrestling belt. Now, when it comes to wrestling toys, there are two manufacturers really out there that make these toys, the belts and the action figures and the rings. There's Jack specific and there's Mattel. Mattel, I think, are the ones that are making the majority, or if not all, of the toys at the moment. But before that, it was Jack specific. Now, this particular belt is from the year 2000, so this could have been bought either by a parent that wanted to get their kid a cheap wrestling belt rather than paying £30-40 as they could do for a brand new one, or it could have been bought by a wrestling fan because obviously it's now 15 years old. I think I picked it up for maybe 50p pound, tops £2, and I accepted an offer on it. It was priced up at 16.95. I think I could have gone £16.95, but I think I took an offer of like £12 because I just wanted to get rid of it because I'd had it for a while and I was like, yeah, I was in the mood to do a deal, as it were. So that's the first item that I wanted to show you guys. So definitely when you're out there, keep an eye out on wrestling figures, wrestling belts. They do fetch good money. Jack Specific and Mattel are the two brands that most people will find. So that's the first item. Let's move on to another one. Now, these are a pair of shoes that I've actually sold twice now, which is kind of funny. They're Vince Camuto shoes. They're by, I think I've sold them before. Once I sold them, and the lady got them and said they were lovely, but they didn't fit her feet. So they are size 4 shoes, but obviously it may have been the width or something, it didn't work, and she happily sent them back to me, so I put them back on sale. They were up at £21.90. I actually accepted an offer of £15, which is still fine because I would have gotten these in a job lot of shoes that I bought from auction a while back, so sold the second time around, so I'm quite happy to see them go. Shoes, boots, I mean, you'll be surprised it's not just designer stuff that sells. If anything, when you're selling designer shoes on eBay, you're putting yourself at risk. If you're selling high fashion, as it were, you're opening yourself up to accusations of selling fake items. You could get a lot of grief for that. So it's not necessarily ideal. Obviously, you can get bigger payouts, bigger paydays when it does work. But what about when you sell something and someone receives it and then they want to, they say that it might be fake and you have to return it, and it can be a bit iffy, so be careful when you're selling high fashion items. I think you may be able to verify an item when you list it, which would be quite cool. But when it comes to kind of like brands that no one's going to bother to counterfeit, such as Next, such as Zara, such as Vince Camuto, I'd never heard of them before this, such as Marks and Spencer's, Clark's, people still buy these brands. People still will pay decent money. I mean, these are shoes that, for example, if you saw these at Boot Fair, you wouldn't be paying more than £1 or £2 for them because they're not necessarily like, they're not, wow, it's, no, these are Gucci or whatever, so I paid nothing really, because I think I'd already made my profit out of the bag of shoes that I'd had for ages. These were just left over and they finally went for £15, so pretty happy with that. Okay. Now, next item is Crash Bandicoot 2 Entrance on the Game Boy Advance. Now this is pretty cool because I actually picked up a box of Game Boy Advance games. I think I paid like £1 for the whole box. It was amazing. I think the guy just thought they wouldn't have many games in them. I think he thought they were just boxes, but it turns out that most of the games were there. They'd just gotten lost in the box somewhere, but the guy was just, there you go, £1. I was like, fine. I've sold a couple of games already for profit. I sold a Final Fantasy game earlier, so that's already cleared me on that. But this went for £9.53, which I was pretty happy with, and that's with free postage. So obviously, you've got to take postage off and fees off for that, but still £9.53, pretty good. Game Boy Advance games they tend to be quite iffy in terms of value. Some of them are not very valuable. Most of them are just going to be bundle fodder for you. So when you're selling a Game Boy Advance console, you stick it together with that. But in this case, I had the manual, I had the box, and the game itself is obviously relatively desirable. All right, we'll move on to the next item. Now, this is a sealed Canon Chromalife ink cartridge that I picked up from Tesco. I think I paid £3.78, £4.78, something like that for it, and I had 3 available, and they've all gone, and that went for £18 with free postage, so pretty happy with that. It did undercut other people for that price. I just wanted them gone. Don't really see the point in having things like this hanging around. Now, here's something which is awesome as well. Pair of men's John Rocha jeans / trousers. You can see that the photo is not amazing. The photo itself is a little bit iffy. It's not, I'm not particularly pleased with it. I should have maybe ironed the jeans. I chose not to for some reason, which is a bit silly, but it still sold relatively well. I can't complain. Sold them for 10. I think I got an offer for £10 on those. Actually, it was up at £10.59. Guy offered me a tenner. I was like, yeah, fine. Again, these came in a bag of clothes that I got absolutely ages ago, so it was quite a nice, easy sell. I've noticed that my clothes sales have started very slowly to eke up a little bit. This is definitely the time of year that I sold a lot more clothes last year as well. So it's really cool to have. I mean, people changing their wardrobes for like their jeans and jumpers now from their like lighter trousers and shirts and things like that. So definitely a good little flip there. Like I said, came in a bag of clothes from auction, so £10 is great. Next item, a bundle of Mega Drive games. I had these up at £16.95. I think I actually accepted like a tenner for them because they weren't anything special. They didn't have the manuals and things, and I just wanted to get a shot of them. But I wouldn't have paid more than like £1 each for these. I think they were like part of a guy just had these left after everyone had gone and gotten the good games from him. So that's an okay sale. Nothing spectacular there. Xbox 360 guitar. I found that you put these on at $29.99 and you'll very quickly get an offer of £20 for them. The Xbox 360 guitar is really cool because it doesn't require a dongle or anything. All the wireless technology is built into the guitar and the console, so you don't need to attach anything for it to function, and so that makes it a pretty good little purchase. You do have to be careful. I mean, I do test them out. I had a case recently where I had a buyer say that the buttons were sticky for some reason. I did test the machine out before sending it out, but they found that the buttons weren't maybe as responsive as they would have liked because it was causing them issues in game. So bear that in mind. But that can happen to any item, can't it? Like a fault, something doesn't meet someone's expectations. But yeah, that was a nice easy flip. That was a Les Paul one. Always look out for guitars which have got the Gibson logo on the neck of the guitar. Those tend to go for more money than like a third party wireless guitar, if anyone makes those. So I've seen other brands which aren't so popular. The plain ones don't seem to go as well. Okay, next item is a PS1 game. It's Disney's 102 Dalmatians Puppies to the Rescue. I wasn't expecting this to have the value it did. It did sit for a few months, so if you buy it, if you find it, don't expect it to sell like immediately. It's I think I priced it pretty much top end. I got £13.77 for it, so I'm very happy with that. Complete with box and manual in this case. Just good condition. The game disc does have some surface scratches, but nothing to stop it from playing. So 1377, pretty happy with that because I wasn't expecting it to have that kind of value. Next up is a Sony Walkman. I've talked about Walkmans in my previous videos as well. This is a standard FM AM Walkman, so it has the digital tuner and you can preset your stations, and it's a decent cassette player. Always worth keeping an old audio cassette with you, just so you not necessarily with you. I mean, you're not going to walk around the boot fair with batteries and cassettes. You can if you want to. Not my cup of tea, but when you get home, it's nice to test it out, make sure it's all working as it should. In this case, it was. I think I paid £2 for this Walkman and got $26.49 back for it. Again, it took about a month or two to sell, so don't expect it to just fly off the shelf unless you're gonna be willing to sell it for significantly cheaper. So bear that in mind. But I held out for that one and got $26.49, so I was very pleased with that. Next item. This was I had 3 of these Lego Mixels sets. I bought them from Tesco. They were £1.50 each for each packet, so that set there cost me about £13.50, I think, or something like that. And it went for £38. I think out of the 3 sets, 2 of the sets went abroad. Only one was sold here in the UK. So that was just nothing that I'm particularly interested in selling, but obviously you're not going to pass up profit when you see it staring you in the face, I hope. Now this was a really nice one. This one I'm really happy about. When I go to the boot fair, I take a set amount of money with me, and I like to go, and it probably sounds reckless, but I don't think I've ever come away from boot fairing with any money left in my pocket. Pretty much every time, no matter how much I take, and so I can take a couple of £100, and somehow I will find things to buy for that amount. If I take £50, I'll find enough to buy for that amount. It's just one of those things I always seem to find. I think I've got really bad spending habits, but I tend to buy okay things, so I can't complain. Now, this was fantastic because I'd gone round this boot fair. It was a really big boot fair on a Saturday. I remember this because of just the way it was. And just as I was leaving the boot fair, the very first stall that was on the entrance/exit was this guy that was obviously like a house clearance kind of guy, when they just put out buckets and buckets of stuff with random stuff chucked in. And this guy had this bucket with like a broken Tracy Island, and it was all manky, and he had these little dinkies in there as well. And I just thought to myself, okay, I'll ask him how much he wants, and he was like, oh no, I want a £5 for the lot. And I said, I don't really want the other bits. I said, I've literally only got £2.50, and that was the truth. I literally only had £2.50 on me at the time. I'd spent everything. That was the last money I had on me. I said, look, I can show you, and he was like, he ummed and ahed a bit, and he let me have these dinkies for £2.50. So I was very happy with that, because these Matchbox dinkies from 1992, they do sell well. I only had Thunderbird 1, Thunderbird 3, and Lady Penelope's Cadillac, as you can see there. I did not have, her limo. I did not have all the Thunderbirds, which is a shame, because obviously if you can complete a set of these Matchbox ones, you can get really decent money. But still, I got 20 quid for those, so I'm pretty pleased with myself with that flip from £2.50. Okay, moving on. More wrestling stuff. I love my wrestling stuff, as you guys can tell. I sell an awful lot of it. This is a 5-figure bundle of Mattel figures. None of these are spectacular. Now these are all when Mattel make wrestling toys, wrestling action figures, they sell ranges of them. So you get toys which brand new will retail for about the £10 mark, but then they do a range of toys called Elite. Now the Elite toys retail in around the £30 mark, and when you get like older Elite toys, even second hand, you can get £30 plus for them. I mean, I've seen people sell Elite Mattel action figures singly and get £30 plus, like for people like The Rock and Triple H and whatever, if they're kind of rare enough or whatever. Now There is a way of telling the difference between a Mattel Elite action figure and a regular one, because at first glance they can look identical. You can't really tell. It's only when you kind of get used to handling these figures that it becomes then it becomes obvious when it's an Elite figure and when it's a basic figure. These are all basic figures, so make sure that when you're buying up bundles, try to look for differences. And the major differences between an Elite figure and a regular basic figure is the extra joints. An Elite figure will have a joint in its torso, so you can lean the wrestling figure forward and backwards. And there's also a joint at the top of the thigh, so you can actually turn the thighs outwards for different stances. So those two differences alone will tell you whether you've got an Elite figure or not. If you've got a toy which lights up, makes noises, has some kind of an action, then it's not an Elite figure. It might be one of their cheap kind of I don't know, they do the different ranges of figures. They have all these funny names, but those are not particularly valuable. They're about the same as basic figures, to be honest. But anyway, these are basic figures from Mattel. I don't know who all of them are, but I just put 5 figures, including the ones that I did know, and they were CM Punk, Rey Mysterio, Edge, R-Truth. One of the guys I didn't know, but so I knew 4 of them, which is pretty good. And I got £19 and 7 pence for this bundle. So considering I would have paid £5 for this bundle, like £1 a figure, that tends to be what I pay. £5 to £19. Nice simple sale, no worries about electronics or breaking parts and things like that, and they sell regularly, so very, very happy with that. So worth keeping an eye out on wrestling figure bundles and such like. So that's that. Alright, let's moving on. This is a good sell for me because of the condition. This is Crash Crash Team Racing on the PS1. Disc only. It works. It was scratched up, wasn't in the best condition, but I think I got pretty much top end. Now, I always, whenever I'm selling a disc only or without a manual, I always sell it as acceptable, because technically I think that's the rules on eBay. If it doesn't have that, if it doesn't have a case, if it doesn't have the manual, you shouldn't be selling it as good or whatever condition. You should sell it as acceptable condition. It doesn't really harm you. As you can see, I think I've gotten top price for this that you'd get for a disc only, and it's a platinum version. It's not even a black label. It's not even the original Crash Team Racing. It's like the platinum range, and I got £15.89 for that disc. So very, very pleased with that price. Next up is an iPod. Now this is a second generation iPod Nano. These aren't particularly valuable. I believe I paid £10 for this, and I think I took 24 for this, so not a massive profit or anything like that in this at all. It was pretty basic. Waited quite a while for it to sell, but eventually it sold. They're quite easy sales. If you see an iPod for a tenner, the chances are it's worth picking up, because you're going to at least double your money on it. They're very light to post. You don't have to worry about that, which is brilliant as well. So can't complain. Decent sale. Now, this is quite an interesting sale, not because of the actual item itself, but because of global shipping program. I was selling these Asics ladies tennis shoes via the eBay global shipping program. And I actually had a lady from Bulgaria make an offer, and she bought these off of me for £14 in the end. I had them for ages. Again, part of a auction job lot, so they were just £14 is fine for me on this. And she wanted to pay shipping, but for some reason on global shipping program, to send these shoes to Bulgaria via global shipping would have cost £18. Admittedly, it means I don't have to worry about the trainers once they get to the GSP shipping center, and I appreciate it would be tracked all the way, but Royal Mail standard for a pair of £14 trainers is more than adequate. I've not really had any issues with it, and it's £8, and for a pair of £14 trainers, paying £18 to ship them, it's gonna smart. So not surprised the lady didn't want to go through with that. She wanted me to send her an invoice, and at first she wouldn't understand that I couldn't send her an invoice because it was sold with GSP on it. I couldn't send her an invoice. eBay does not allow you to send a manual invoice. If you ever sell something via the global shipping program and then you press send invoice, if the buyer doesn't pay immediately, it will then come up with an error message or a message saying this was sold via the global shipping program, so you cannot send an invoice. They will automatically be able to check out the item. So in the end, it was a big kerfuffle. I had to cancel the sale. And then I had to relist them. I relisted them at £14 just because that's what I knew she wanted to pay for them. And I removed GSP, and it was only £8.26 postage to Bulgaria. So hopefully those will get to her safely. Even if they don't, I think just the point of it is, global shipping is a fantastic tool, but I'm gonna start thinking quite carefully about what items to have it enabled on and which to not have it enabled on, because if you're selling a cheap item, I don't think it's worth it. Obviously, if you're selling an expensive item, definitely I'd have it on, just for the protection of once it's at the GSP center, it's not your responsibility any longer. So if you're selling something worth like £50 plus, I can see the benefit in that completely. But in my case, I think on a pair of £14 trainers, to try to charge someone £18 when the trainers cost £14, it sucks a little bit, considering other European countries it would have been a lot less. Actually, other European countries, I checked it out, and it was around the £8 £7 mark, but for some reason Bulgaria is a very expensive country for eBay to ship to. So bear that in mind, guys, that the global shipping program is very good, but it will cost customers a lot more money in certain instances. So it's just something to think about. And even if you have additional services, which I did have on this listing, because Bulgaria is now a GSP country, it didn't matter. I can't apply that. The only time my secondary postage will kick into action is in countries which are currently not covered by the global shipping program. And if you look now, the global shipping program covers a lot more countries than it did earlier this year. So bear that in mind. It is good, but in some cases it could lose you a sale. But that got done in the end. Now here is a great example of another wrestling toy flip and something to look out for. This is definitely a bolo, and that is the Kane action figure. Kane action figures, with his red outfit and his red mask, are definitely worth picking up and selling separately. You don't need to bundle these guys up. You can definitely sell them separately because they bring in enough money for you. Now, ideally, I would have loved to have found a Mattel Kane, but that wasn't possible. In fact, I got a Jakks Pacific one. Now, Jakks Pacific did a range of these toys where on their feet you'd see two small contacts, like two metal contacts. And what happens is, if you had their Titantron set, when you played with the figure in the set, each figure would make like its theme tune play, basically, or like it spout out catchphrases, like it would communicate, which was quite revolutionary at the time. I mean, these figures came out in 1999, so it's 16 years old. Now, this figure, like I said, is just a Jakks Pacific, so the figure itself is not very nice. I don't necessarily think Jakks Pacific figures are the best. They're a bit chunky, a bit cartoony, but if you see Kane with his red mask on, his mask on is important, and the red outfit, the red and black outfit like this, definitely worth it. Now, if you pick up an elite Mattel version of this action figure Kane with his red garms on, you're looking at about a £30 sale there comfortably. Potentially, sometimes you could even get more, but definitely look out for Kane. I think I would have paid like 50 pence for this guy, and I sold him for £13.77 on his own, which is brilliant. So definitely look out for Kane in his red outfit and his red mask. Jakks or Mattel will be fine. Mattel will obviously be more valuable, and especially if you get an elite action figure, like I explained, with the joints on the torso and on the top of the thighs. So that's fantastic. Alright, let's move along. Now this is pretty cool. These were I actually picked up two of these Pokemon plushes. They're quite large. They're 18 inches tall. There was Squirtle and there was Charmander. Now I had them up for £26.49 or near offer, and normally I wouldn't have accepted an offer like that I did. I accepted an offer of £13 on each of them, but because they were going to one guy, it made sense for me because I thought it gets rid of them out of the house. I think I paid £3 each, so I paid £6 in total for these guys. So it's not the biggest profit in the world, but considering the same guy bought both of them and he offered me 13, and that was after a little bit of haggling. He originally wanted 10, and I know it's miles away from my £26, but sometimes you just want to get rid of stuff, especially when it's big and bulky and it takes up a lot of room. So this guy paid me £13 each, so £26 in total, and it allowed me to ship to him in one shipping fee, so that was obviously attractive, and it got rid of them. So I took the offer. I mean, there's Charmander and there's Squirtle, both 18-inch. Quite nice if you're a Pokemon fan. I can see the attraction. So I was happy to let those go for 26 in total when I wanted 26. So he basically got one free. So still not bad for a £6 initial sale. So I'll get rid of those. Now, next item is a Buffy the Vampire, another Game Boy Advance game. Now, this is interesting just because I actually got a little message with it saying thank you for accepting my offer, because I think I accepted an offer of like £7, so very cheap. But again, this came in that big bundle of Game Boy Advance games I bought for like £1. And the reason why I thought it was interesting is because I got the little message saying, this is going to be for a Christmas present for someone who's a big Buffy fan. Thanks for accepting my offer. And it just shows that Christmas is definitely now on people's minds. It's beginning of October. Well, we're approaching the middle of October now, so definitely the Christmas bug has started to kick in. Okay, there you go. That's when I accepted the offer of that one. I'll get rid of that. I've already shown you that one. Okay, Lemmings on the Sega Mega Drive. Again, I picked this up pretty cheap. I accepted it. I was selling it for £8.47 on their offer, and I accepted an offer of £7.50 for it, which I thought was okay. I used Joe Chris Pine's superb method of opening the case up and slipping it into a jiffy bag, so that way it goes through as a large letter, and I'm a big fan of that. Definitely, it came with manual. The case had a bit of a tear on the wrapping, the plastic covering of the case at the back, so I mentioned that, of course, and went for £7.50, so pretty happy. Here's another action figure that's worth looking out for. Is if you ever see this Bane action figure, he's a 7-inch tall action figure. You'll find these at boot fairs. I've sold a couple of these, and you normally will pick them up for a 50p a pound, maybe two at tops, and it went abroad for 16. Well, I think I paid like 16. Yeah, I think he actually bought it at the price, I think, which was £16.95. Plus he paid GSP fees as well. Or I think he did make me an offer, but I don't think it was far off. I think it was something like £13 or £14. He took for he bought it for. So a decent figure to look out for. Quite a nice figure. I'm not sure. I think he may be from the Arkham Asylum games, perhaps, or from a TV series, but definitely a figure worth looking out for. DC figures tend to do pretty well. Alright, next item. This is pretty cool. This is again a pair of Next boots. You wouldn't really think much about them. They're just a pair of Next ladies ankle boots. They've got a little bit of suede on the heel. Plain black, boring boots that you probably wouldn't look twice at. I certainly wouldn't look twice at them at the boot fair, but these came in my job lot of shoes from auction. Had them up at £15.89, and I sold them for £12, so more than happy with that with shipping. You don't have to worry, just £2.60 via Hermes, off it goes. So just bear in mind when you are at boot fairs or when you are looking for stuff, sometimes the most basic, simple things do sell. Someone might want cheap pair of work shoes, and they would be perfect for that. If you're working and you just need a pair of black shoes, don't want to spend money on them. You spend your money on good clothes for when you're out of work. Then something like that would be perfect for you if you were looking on eBay. Next up, video games again, but this is kind of interesting because I bought like a massive bundle. There was a lady there who had like a little box of PlayStation 2 games, and they were all crud, like the usual games, like the wrestling games and sports games or whatever, and there was a couple of half decent like Grand Theft Auto, but nothing valuable really. I was just looking at I can't remember what game I was looking at. I think I was looking at Dino Crisis or something like that. It was a Capcom shoot 'em up game that I had, and lady goes, "Oh, you can make me an offer on the whole lot." And she was like, I said, "I don't know." And she goes, "Fiver?" And I looked at it, and it was a massive box of PS2 games. Well, fiver, yeah, sure. I sold the Dino Crisis game for a fiver. I've sold some GTA games as a bundle. I've sold some Call of Duty, some Medal of Honor was in there, and even PlayStation 2 games have got like a almost a reputation. I've noticed at boot fairs of just being crap, and a lot of people will just leave PlayStation 2 games. They don't go after them as if if they spotted other games, and even when they go through them, they're only looking for, I don't know, like the Homer Simpson Hit and Run or the Crash Bandicoot games, and they leave all of these behind. And the buyers are happy to get rid of these very, very cheaply. Now, if you can pick up a bundle of massive job lot of PlayStation 2 games of crappy titles, bundling the crappy titles is a great way of selling them. I mean, on their own, Legends of Wrestling and SmackDown vs. Raw 2007 don't have much value. Together, they're a fiver, and if you can get 10 bundles of a fiver out of a box of games that you paid a fiver for, you're going to be doing okay. So I'm pretty happy with that. So that went for $4.99. And it went as a large letter. So just a little insight of the way I look at PlayStation 2 games is even the ones that are considered not valuable or bundle fodder, if you can get a good price on a job lot, it's definitely worth going in on it. So that's something to think about. Alright, moving on. Again, another video game, and this is a disc only, so it's even without all the bits and pieces, it's worth selling. Resident Evil 3 Nemesis on the PS1. Only got £6 for it, but it was very cheap to post, so can't go wrong. I did quickly put it in and test it out because it was very scuffed up, and I mentioned it does have some scratches, but it works fine. And to be honest with you, PlayStation games, because they're black on the other side, it can look a lot worse than it actually is, but for £6 it's a nice easy flip, and I think I got that in like a job lot at the booth fair. Now, this is something I picked up off of, I think, the UK Reselling group or someone else's YouTube videos. It was probably Nick Hills. Who else is it going to be? And this is all unabridged audiobooks. I think Darren Smart sold some as well for Smart Reselling. Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. I was really happy to pick this up for £3, I think it was, or £2. But then I was going through them, and all the discs were there. And right at the end, I mean, there's 23 discs in this set. 23 compact discs. So you can imagine I was going through them, 1, 2, 3, 5. They're all there, and it's all looking great. And I'm thinking, good money here. And then disc number 22 is missing. Disc number 22 out of 23, and I was like, oh damn it! It's very frustrating. But I took a chance, just put it up as acceptable use condition, and mentioned that disc 22 is missing, and still I managed to get my asking of £19.99. So it shows that it's worth hanging on to these things. It's definitely something to not get disheartened about when things are missing. Sometimes people are happy to buy them anyway. I did actually look to see whether I could find disc 22, but I don't think there was any for sale at the time, and to be honest, it wouldn't have mattered. Next item is another second generation iPod. This one I actually got my asking of $26.49 for, which is fantastic. That's pretty much top end for this. The second generation iPod Nano, for some reason, doesn't, and especially in the 2GB form like this, the second generation of iPod Nano just doesn't seem to carry the same value as some of the other iPods out there, but still I got $26.49 for it. Very happy. I think I paid £10 for this. I picked it up as a job lot of things, and I was really pleased that it didn't go immediately. It actually took a lot longer than I thought. I think I've had to relist this a couple of times, so or sell similar or whatever I did, and eventually it's gone at $26.49, so I was very pleased for that. Now, moving on to my final item. Pokemon Pearl I picked up. This was actually pretty cool. It was the guy. There was a kid who had this and Guilty Gear on the DS, and he had it in this really crusty looking case. And as you can see from the game itself, the label is a bit tatty, a bit grubby. And I mentioned that in the description of this game. It's Pokemon Pearl version. It is the European version as well, which is cool. And it went for £8, just cartridge only, very grubby. So I pretty much got top whack for that. Sometimes I've seen boxed versions go for about £8-9 because Pokemon Pearl on the DS isn't the most valuable Pokemon game out there. But I'm really pleased with how it sold, to be honest. Considering its condition isn't that great either, so it's worth bearing in mind. Let me have a look here. So I mean, that's pretty much some of the stuff that I've sold. Since like the second, it's not obviously everything, but it's a few of the more interesting items. It's just pays to kind of list stuff that you do enjoy listing, because it might be something that you're not necessarily interested in yourself. So for example, I don't go around wearing the kids wrestling belts or playing with the wrestling toys, but I enjoy selling them. I enjoy picking them up when I see them, and if certain figures look really nice compared to others, and it just interests me. Something piques my interest, and someone that's really kind of inspired me to keep focused on that is Ken Chapman on the UK reselling group. That guy is a legend, because he really does sell some of the most amazing items that a lot of us, especially people that are new to reselling, will not even look at twice, or not even have the guts to do. And also over in the States, Scavenger Life are amazing for this. I was listening to one of their most recent podcasts, and one of the things they talk about is how they look for art. Now, I see a lot of art sometimes, depending on which boot fairs you go to. Sometimes you can see art, paintings and things like that, and I won't look at it, because I just feel, I don't know what it is. Is it a print? Is it an actual on canvas thing? Is there a signature on it? And the thing with art is, some of the times it just doesn't matter. Sometimes it's just how you sell the item. And Scavenger Life, in their most recent podcast, you should check it out if you do get a time. They talk about how they don't care if there's no name on it. They just go by the rationale out of, does it look good to me? If I would hang it on my wall, someone else would. So much like Ken's little rule of three there, that does it look good? Have you seen it before? And would it look nice on a dockside apartment? And it's something I want to force myself to do, because as you can see at the moment with these items, I enjoy selling these items, but I would love to branch out and have a bit more variety. I mean, I do have some cool vintage stuff in my shop. I do currently have a couple of really awesome 1960s, 70s made in Japan Amstrad vintage hi-fi pieces, so I love that. I've got like an old Salter kind of weighing scale. I've got a few vintage pieces out there, some older pieces. I've got like an old tobacco tin on there as well, a couple of those, and I do pick up things, but it's always worth bearing in mind to try to to sell what you like, sell what you enjoy, and often you'll find that you can learn stuff through it as well. So for example, I am a bit more kind of gadgety minded, and because of that, recently I figured out how to fix iPods, or like do basic maintenance on old iPods. So I know how to replace a battery on an iPod 3rd gen, 4th gen now. It's really easy. It looks complicated, but I learned it, and now I've got this market open to me where I can buy faulty iPods, and I can change out a screen, I can change out a hard drive, I can change out the battery, because it's actually not that difficult at all. So very basic. I can't actually do any soldering or anything. It's just unplugging and plugging bits back in. But it's just an example that if you can really take advantage of things. And there is that old saying that if you do what you love, you'll never work a day for the rest of your life, and to an extent that's what we have to aim for, and it'll keep things interesting. Even when you're doing Amazon, if you're doing Amazon FBA, you don't need to necessarily go down just the mass retail arbitrage option. You don't need to suddenly start thinking, okay, I'm going to sell on Amazon to become wealthy. I'm going to need to start selling shampoo and cereal and other stuff like that, or plain vests, or things like that. You can actually take your unique what you enjoy, and you can transfer it to Amazon quite successfully, in a way, really successfully. So for example, if you do like your electronics, there is an electronics market on Amazon for used electronics, just like a lot of people sell video games now on Amazon because they get better prices. So just because it's used doesn't mean that it's not going to sell on Amazon, and also it doesn't mean that you can't sell it, or it doesn't mean that you have to sell it in a certain way on Amazon. Yes, it's a different platform to eBay, and I know I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, but I think you can transfer some of your unique style to your Amazon store as well, and maybe sell items that are still attractive to you. So for example, in my case, I'd love to sell old VCRs, Polaroid cameras, and CD players, and older, things like that. As long as they're in good condition, I'd love to sell that kind of stuff on there. But it's just something to bear in mind. Anyway, guys, I don't want to ramble on for too long, but just wanted to mention that because it's something I enjoyed. Like I said, shout out to Ken Chapman for selling what he loves and selling some really awesome pieces. You should definitely see his videos because he does these like weekly sales reports, and some of the stuff he sells and the margins that he gets. If you guys are all about profit as well, it's all about education, isn't it? Like in anything, the profits you can make on some of these items, fantastic. I hope you guys have enjoyed the stream. There's 6 people watching, and I'm very, very grateful for 6 people watching this. It would be nice in the future if you guys want to, if you're able to start chatting in the live chat, because then I can answer questions and comments, and we can get like a dialogue going. That would be really cool as well. So if 7 people watching now, that's even better. That's amazing. It's a shame it's near the end, but still. But like I said, next time I do this, I would appreciate if you guys are able to type into the live chat, and I can kind of reply to you guys and keep a dialogue going, and maybe answer some questions, give my opinions on some stuff, because I like giving my opinions. It's fun. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this live sales report, and my little rant, or my little chat. I had 9 people watching it now. Now I feel terrible. But yeah, so like I said, it was a bit of a rant, but it's something that's important, is to try to sell what you like, and there's lots of great examples of that out there, and you can definitely learn from them. So people like Ken Chapman, people like Nick Hills, actually, he doesn't just sell, he sells in the majority things that he's really into. And you've got to really love board games to sit there and go through them all. You've got to really love some of the items that he sits there and sifts through and works out, like Magic the Gathering cards. I wouldn't touch them because I'd just be bored to tears before I even thought about sifting through them and organising them. So, that's just something to bear in mind. Anyway, guys, like I said, rambling again. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've got 8 people watching now. Next time, I would love it if you guys maybe put something in the chat, ask questions or make comments, and obviously we can get a bit more chat going. That would be really nice. Thanks for watching, and I'll be posting this up onto my YouTube page afterwards. It's going to process and become a video, so if you don't get to see it now, you get to see it later anyway. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.